Welcome to 340, the podcast about intimacy, emotional presence, and what happens in the space between us. Today, I'm joined by Lisa Näs, a journalist with more than 10 years of experience writing about sex, relationships, and intimacy in the world of magazines. In this conversation, we explore how to write about closeness with integrity, what has changed in how we talk about desire over the past decade, why female orgasm is still such a loaded topic, and what Lisa has learned from interviewing so many people about their inner lives and relationships. This is a conversation about language, responsibility, vulnerability, and the courage it takes to speak about what truly matters. Lisa, I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Really glad to see you here. So I thought we can just dive into some of the questions and thoughts that we're going to discuss today.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we discussed was around the balance between personal integrity and professional stories.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as one of the things that we can discuss in that domain?
I think when it comes to sex, I mean, it depends on who I interview, what the topic is about, what the article is about. But I have interviewed a few couples who have shared a lot about their private sex life. You know, they have let me into their bedroom pretty much, which is an honor and not filthy in any way. But when people do that, like I interviewed this autumn in September or something, a couple, swingers couple, who told me everything about how their lifestyle worked in the swingers world and how they started it and what works for them, what not, what have they learned, blah, blah, blah. And when people do that, I also interviewed a few years ago another interesting couple who had decided to have sex for 1,000 days in a row. And wanted to see how it affected their relationships or their sex life or what happened, you know, just as a little challenge. And when people do that, they are already open to talk about sex. You know, it's nothing weird. And for me, it's
natural.
Yeah, to me, it's also like natural. I have no problem asking like very private questions. Maybe sometimes too private, but I feel when it depends on if I ask, or if I would interview just any random person, I'm not going to ask them about their sex life. But if someone has already talked about that or is open to it, then I know that this is okay. Here I can try to go deeper, or you know, see how much they want to share. And then it's, of course, if it's a person who's not so used to media or being interviewed, they have to have a different kind of respect, you know, to maybe explain how it works, or, you know, you don't have to answer if you think it's too private. So that's also something I think, like, I feel often that I can ask pretty much everything, but the one I'm interviewing has no, like, doesn't have to answer every question. It's okay to also say, I don't want to talk about this, or this is too private for me.
Yeah, I think, I mean, a personal boundary sometimes might be healthy as well, I guess.
Yeah. Not sure I have them myself, but...
But do you also get inspired then by the people you've been interviewing, and do they give you new ideas or thoughts?
When it comes to sex, no, not really. Then it's more like curiosity, like, oh, why are you interested in this? How does this work for you? You know, I'm super happy that I get to ask questions because I'm a curious person, I think. But when it comes to relationships, it's, or maybe even like the link between sex and relationships, then I feel like, yeah, this makes sense. Maybe this is something I should consider too, or have I thought about this in my relationship? Or, you know, then for me personally can be more
rewarding, I guess.
Yeah, or inspiring.
Yeah, inspiring. Yeah, but I think we're all on a journey, and I think we don't stop learning from life, and particularly when it comes to relationships. So I think
definitely
continue to evolve and expand on that. Good. So how do you write and talk then about sex and intimacy in a respectful, curious way? I mean, how you think and write about it? How do you go about it? Because it is a sensitive topic for many, and at the same time, what I see in this pod, for example, is that people are genuinely interested and curious about it, and it seems like a conversation that affects a lot of people, more or less all people.
I think like one basic thing that I do since forever is that I never talk about like women and men or your husband and wife, you know. I'm always saying partner or the person you have sex with, or I'm not, I would never write about sex in a way that it's like with the idea that it's only like penis and vagina, you know.
Yeah, but it has, well, I think it's nice to be having that boundary where you also say that it's to say yes, the partner, or the sex as such, and be neutral about it. Good. And then how do you feel about, is there any personal line you draw for yourself when you talk and write about sex and intimacy? Is there anything you don't talk about?
No, I feel in the research process or in interviewing, like the idea is just to collect the information, right? And then I always, like, I think any journalist would have a lot of information or quotes that you would never use, you know. You always know a lot more about the person or the topic than you actually write, you know. So for example, like with this couple who had sex every day for 1,000 days, one question I asked was like, so did this make you try something new, or did you actually learn something new, like sex wise, you know? And then they were like, yeah, there was something, you know. And then I felt now I think I crossed the line. Like this was getting too private now we got too detailed. And I like details. I love when it's like concrete. Like I love to have like hands-on tips, you know. Say this, do this, try this, feel here, touch here, you know. That's what I like to do when it's not so just a fluff of words, but actually something that you can use and that can be helpful. But at that time, when I asked that, I felt like, oh, now I went too far. This was like not necessarily, and the reader doesn't have to know exactly, you know, what they did. So I didn't write that. I left that out from the article.
So do you feel there's a difference for you then between being personal and being private?
About me when I interview, or
when you
about
interview?
the person?
Yeah, about both actually. So maybe about you, but also about the person you're interviewing.
Well, I would say I'm not very. I don't know. I think I could be quite private without a problem. But often it's not about me, you know. Often it's about somebody else. I don't know. I think I would probably overshare more than undershare, and I don't know. Usually, I don't talk so much about myself. So
no, of course, but it's that I can understand. Okay.
Yeah. Or I think it's like this. I think I am a very like open person when it comes to talking about relationships and sex and stuff. But then I think I can also feel a little bit like, oh, this is getting too private for me. But it's nothing I have really thought about because I haven't had to. So I think I'm maybe a little bit cautious more nowadays because I know that I have no problem talking about it, but I might feel after like, oh, that was maybe not necessarily, you know, why did I say that?
So I can see that. I can see that for sure. So when it comes to looking at like performance is quite often something that is sort of seen in relationships today, or like in sex particularly. And there's almost like a stigma around the female orgasm and expectations around that as well. Why do you think the female orgasm is still such a sensitive subject?
Well, is it really a sensitive subject, I wonder?
Maybe not. Do you
Maybe
feel it's
not. I mean, I've been freelancing for several Swedish magazines the last 10 years and writing for women of all ages, not only about sex and relationships, but also interior design and travels and health. But previous to that, I was employed at Bonnier magazines in Sweden. And I used to work with several magazines, but one of them was Amelia. And I remember at the time they had like their own, Amelia's own sex study, sort of like a small study where they had asked the readers, like, how satisfied are you with your sex life? How often do you orgasm? Do you have sex as often as you want? Blah, blah, blah. And we used to make an article from this one every year, pretty much. And then what you could see was this like classic orgasm gap that shows the ones who tend to orgasm most frequently during sex are like heterosexual men, bisexual men. Which order does it go? Gay men, and after that comes lesbian women, and at the end comes heterosexual women. And so when men would be like, yeah, orgasm maybe 90, I think 95%
of the
times I have sex. Lesbian women said, according to this study, it's an American study, 86% of the time, and heterosexual women would be 65% of the time. And I remember in this Amelia's own sex study, or whatever you should call it, not a scientific study at all, that it was kind of the same numbers. You know, women would still only orgasm maybe 70% of the time or 75%. And I remember because I pitched an article for Amelia like 10 years ago about different kinds of orgasms that I had like learned a little bit about from some tantric person. And Amelia didn't want to have this type of article, so it ended up for another magazine. But the way to look at it, at like women's lack of orgasms, from an editorial point of view, I feel has sometimes been like, should we really write about this? Because it might just add on to women's already high pressure on themselves, or their feeling of, I cannot even get one orgasm, and now I'm supposed to have like nipple orgasm, vaginal orgasm, squirting, anal orgasm, or, you know, is that really? Whereas I, as a person, I think I am, when I hear of something like, you know, oh, there are 7 types of orgasm, I've only experienced one, you know, my reaction,
I want to explore.
Always, like, wow, here is more for me. How can I learn? You know, or
exactly.
You know, somebody can be doesn't have to be about sex and relationships, but like, oh, I moved to US and now I work like this. Then I would be like, wow, I also want to do that. How can I do that? You know,
more curiosity about life.
Yeah, instead of feeling, oh, I cannot even have this, or you have everything. You know. But I guess that's just different types of personality.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset thing there. And actually, if you think about it this way, most societies, shame is a big thing, particularly for female sexuality or the body or how you're brought up. And I think a lot of women are taking that with them into the bedroom and how you're exploring yourself and how you open up. And if the feeling is that, oh, when I have sex, the man has to come. Like you said, the stats are like 95% of the men are climaxing during sex. But then if you then go to the woman, it's less focus on that, right? So when the man comes, the sex stops, basically, right? But if you take away I personally feel like if you take away the climax focus, you will actually have better orgasms in the end of it, because the focus is not the orgasm. That's a result of the whole journey there. That you focus much more
Yeah.
on the intimate elements in between, the touching, the being, if you will, instead of just focusing on, hey, I need to orgasm, because then you get so obsessed with the end
Yeah.
result instead
Yeah.
of the whole purpose of intimacy, if you will.
I think also, like, that's a perspective that makes sense if you know you can orgasm, or
Yeah.
you know this is available to me if I ask for it or if I work for it.
Yeah.
If you have always felt that this was never important when I was with a partner,
Yeah.
maybe difficult to enjoy the journey, you know, if
Maybe it is, but maybe then you haven't experienced it either.
but if many women in studies, you know, they can orgasm with
Yeah.
themselves, they would orgasm also 95% of
Sure.
the time. The problem is when the man comes in.
Well, I mean,
But hopefully this is something that's also changing, I think. You know, if you would look at your daughter, or
yeah,
I have two daughters also, who are already like, all we talk about at home is like snippa.
yeah, yeah, the pussy.
Yeah, like in a childish way, you know.
Yeah,
I don't even remember talking about that at home when I was a child. You know, there was barely a word for it
yeah.
in the 90s, you know.
But
And now,
that's progress. It's a progress.
yeah,
Yeah,
and at least now in Sweden, you know, I think all families pretty much, they have a word they use, and the kids use
yeah.
it, and it's
Normalized in that sense, I would say.
yeah, and I hope that would follow when our kids grow up, you know, that they are
Yeah.
comfortable and it's nothing.
But I'm just thinking a bit more. I agree with that, and I think it's the more we can normalize the conversation around it, and that it's a natural thing, because we are human beings, and knowing your body, I think, is a key element. And on this show before, we've talked a lot about. I think shame is one of the key things that a lot of women are sort of almost afraid of trying something in the context with another person, and also that the focus historically has really been on male performance, right? That the male should climax, and then that's the most important thing. I think a great part of that responsibility is also on the men to actually take away the focus to climax themselves, be much more in the now with their partner, and focus more maybe on her and the journey, if you will, right? So it's not just on the woman to do that.
No, exactly, definitely. But I wonder, is it also like maybe not just times changing, but does it, maybe it has to come also with a certain experience, you know? Because
Yeah.
I would say that men also they need to have the right expectations, right? They need to know that this woman is probably not going to come just from penetration, you know?
Yeah.
I need to give her time. Maybe she needs to warm up. Maybe she needs like some kind of foreplay, you know? Maybe the foreplay starts during the day, you know? There's somebody who said, like, what makes women horny, or like, there's nothing that makes me horny like a man who's vacuum cleaning. And I
Daily
think,
chores in the house.
yeah, and it makes sense. Like, you know, this, now we're talking about a relationship, like
Yeah. And yeah,
two people living together, not just two people having sex. But, you know, that's also, I think people, or yeah, both men and women probably have to understand that also it doesn't start in the bedroom, like, let's get it on. It starts maybe during the day. What are we doing at home? Do I take all the responsibility? Do I have a feeling that I do
yeah.
everything and I'm exhausted in the evening, and then you're expecting me to be ready to have sex with you and orgasm? It doesn't work like that, you know?
But
That's
I agree with that. And what you say, I mean, I think women, I mean, if you think about I think a male responsibility there is to provide more physical and emotional safety, first of all, as a basic component within a relationship. And what I've seen with a lot of women also is that they're really craving to be seen and heard by a man, right? And I've been a subject for that myself, where I was not necessarily seeing my ex-wife properly, and I was rushing to a conclusion or trying to fix something before even finishing listening to her.
Yeah. But isn't that typical male also, you know?
It is typical male.
You want to come with a solution, let's solve this problem. And the women just wants to like open their heart and be heard.
But that is the crux of all of this, right? Because I think a lot of men are going into it with that mindset. Like the vast majority of men are like that, because we're taught to perform. And when we are taught to perform, we need to fix something. We need to solve for it. We need to do that. We're not good enough if we don't do that. At the same time as the woman will feel too much if they want to be heard and seen. So there are different, it's the same, actually the root cause from that is coming from the same place, but from a different lens. So it's the same problem. So for women, it's about feeling too much. And for a man, it's about feeling we're not enough.
You mean women would feel that I am too much? Or
yeah, if you would start almost wanting to share all the details or the feelings you have, and then the man doesn't listen to you, you feel like the feeling you will sit with is that you're too much for the man. And the man will feel like they're not enough, that they need to perform, that we need to fix something to be good enough. So that's it comes from psychologically, I think it comes from more or less the same place, that we're ending up not meeting each other. And I think that's where men need to go up on their side. And I think also women need to be daring to be vulnerable in that sense. And I think the men definitely needs to open up and be vulnerable. And if we do that and meet as people, I think that's a great place to start from, to reduce those stigmas that we've had throughout the years. Or it's actually inherited through generations, right? It's not just something happening here. And we can make a choice if we want to make a change about it. I think it's up to us as people now.
But do you think your son, a teenage son, or like young adults almost, would he, or young boys, let's say that age, would they also have like by default that feeling of I have to, what was the word you just used?
Perform.
I have to perform.
To some extent, yes. But what encouraged me with that younger generation is that they are actually opening up, talking about emotions in a different way than we did. And I'm not saying that all guys are like this.
No.
I can only talk from some of the men or guys I'm looking at. I can also talk my daughter's boyfriend. He's 18. And the way he is opening up and being vulnerable to her. And it's beautiful to see how he dares to do that. And when you see those things, it's impressive and gives me really hope that men are going to be better men for women moving forward. I think there's still a long journey to take, but I think there's light in that, right? So I don't think that everything is about the negativity with men, right? For me, I think the key thing is really to show. I think some women, to be honest, are going too far on the pendulum on the other way, that they are like the man hate and that is almost going too far in that direction. And I think you also then have the incels and the men on the other side that is starting to hate women for that, right? That type of polarity I don't think is healthy. And I think the best way we can create is that space between these two polarities, if you will, that actually enables men and women to meet. It's equals, and that we can find the right balance, and that we can take out the softness in men, but also keep the direction and the holding, if you will, right? That actually the women are looking for, the stability, the calmness, if you will, right?
I think I didn't used to think like this, but after I met my current partner, Alex, I realized like how stability, how important that is to me in a relationship, and to feel like he has my back, that he is really there supporting me. I don't think I had really felt that in previous relationships. And I think that also, that is really needed in the bedroom, if you are in the bedroom. Because to be able to orgasm, you need to feel comfortable, of course, but you need to feel that this is obvious.
I think you need to feel emotionally safe.
Yeah, exactly. And that you are allowed to take time, and that he is there for you, but also actually, I think, like when it comes to oral sex, for example, I think one thing is what makes this good, or what makes it good is when the person is really enjoying giving it,
Yeah, of course.
It's not about, now I'm going to try to make this the best for you, but I think it gets better when you feel like the person doing it is really enjoying it,
Of course. I think that's a great place to start, right? So you start focusing on if you think about,
because otherwise you also get into performance, I think, in your head. Now I have to perform, I have to make this. Does it seem like this is working? Yeah, this is working. Oh, this was maybe not so good, But if you are there because you enjoy it, or you are curious, or
exactly,
how is this for both men and women? I think it brings something different.
I fundamentally believe that if you focus on being in the now and being on that journey and being present with what you do, enjoying it too, like you said, first of all, I think that both men and women will have even stronger orgasms in the end of it without actually focusing on getting there, right? And then you can actually enjoy it even more. So it becomes much more of a...
If you enjoy it, not saying all people have to enjoy it.
No, I had some good conversations in previous episodes with some sexologists, and they say that what I like to hear from them is this, that the body never lies. Like literally everyone can have an orgasm. That more or less everything that stops you from having it comes from the head. And that's when both the physical and emotional safety is really the first place you need to start. And I think that's the best thing a man can provide to a woman, is creating both physical and emotional safety for her, so she can be more relaxed and be more in the now. And that the
but
man...
how do you do that as a man?
How you do that as a man? I think one thing is, it goes back to the everyday relationship you have, right? Yes, the physical act of what you do when you're there is sort of... If I start, I have to answer that in two parts, right? I think one is sort of how you are in the relationship and how you don't lash out or react in certain ways or shut down, that you stand still, that you stay.
Okay.
You don't run away. You stay with, if you're having an argument, you're saying something, don't run away and don't shut down. A lot of men are doing that they abandon or avoid conflict, what have you, right? But you stay in that, and you also choose how you react back. If you get triggered by your partner, for example, the primal brain might respond in a certain way, that you lash out directly and you say something mean or hurtful. But instead, when you behave like that, it really hurt me like this. And can we find a way of a different way of approaching that, for example, right? So you're more calm about how you respond to something. The result is the same because you're addressing the same thing that triggers you, but the tonality is different. So instead of going with the primal brain, you can have a more thoughtful response, which actually creates more safety for the woman.
So it's about this, like expressing yourself from like an I or me perspective, like
exactly.
When you say this, or I don't know if you should even say that, like when you say this.
No, that was maybe just a poor example, but I think when it's more like when you experience something, that you can curate the response in a more thoughtful way, that whenever you're triggered with something, can you talk me through how you were thinking here? What did you do this? Instead of, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
So it's sort of that type of approach, I think, is more healthy. But when it comes to the bedroom, I think what I've seen there is if you're really slowing down and you're starting with touch and you do that in a very gentle way and you explore certain positions, and I think that's take time and just don't rush to the end goal, right? I think just really explore and enjoy and be curious is really a good way for a man to show attentiveness to the woman as well.
Yeah.
Not just, I mean, most men know. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, the stats are 95% of men can come when they have sex, right? And I think men know that. Men know that they.
So I think women know that they can come. I mean,
of course, yeah, of course. But
I guess it goes hand in hand also. You know, it's if the woman, when talking about men and women together, I think if the woman feels like you are here for me, you know, and maybe it starts then, you know, like that. Outside the bedroom, like if I feel that you are here for me, you are staying, you can handle me, you can, you know, you can handle everything of me, or you know, I'm allowed to be my full self, then I can also relax when I'm naked with you, you know.
Exactly. I think a lot of, and this is an interesting, and I'm gonna give you another element here, right? So I think a lot of, because we talked about, this is now what we're talking about when you're in a long-term relationship and you're in that, right? And I think also a lot of people, and I would say men and women, are acting from a place of fear when they're in the relationship because you're afraid of ruining the relationship, losing the house or the home you have together, the status you might have, and the stakes you have in that relationship. So you're not acting from a place of love in that, right? In all elements. Okay. And I'm generalizing now. There are always exceptions, but this is just a theory, right? The other element is if you do act from love, you know that you choose to love your partner every day. You choose to be there every day. You choose to be attentive. You choose to be there for them and hold them and be there. It's a different thing. And then you have the other element that we see now in society today. There are more single households than ever. A lot of people are having more random sex partners and all these things. I think I've spoken to a few women now, for example, who are really afraid of being in a long-term relationship, and they do not enjoy sex as much in the long-term relationship as they do with these shorter relationships they might have. Not just the one-night stands, but maybe the one that they see for a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Because what they've said then is, I can be myself. I can let go and I can be present and enjoy sex because I know it's only about that. I don't have to fear of losing my home or the status or whatever it might be that the relationship comes with. So the focus shifts from the relationship to actually being present, and what you should do in the long-term relationship, being present, they do in these shorter relationships, and that's what they fully enjoy. But that also means that they're not necessarily loving the same way, because I think that sex can be very mechanical, and obviously you can enjoy and achieve results in that sense. But also, if you would add and truly connect on a deeper level, sex can become much more intimate when you do that with a partner you really love and care about, right? The difference between making love and having sex.
But I mean, in the actual moment, like what is? But then you're not really in the moment, right? If you're with your long-term partner and you feel like I cannot be myself and let go.
Yeah, but I also think this is one of the things that makes people then not be present. I mean, one of the biggest challenges for people today are to be present in the moment they're in.
Yeah.
Then the question is, are you really there right then? If you go back to, you made the illusion here, or the comment around how, we've been working all day, we're having all the chores, and now you want to have me to have an orgasm. That becomes like a mindset, right? And then when you do that, you sort of disconnect from being in the now, because you're already thinking about what's coming in the future. I have to do this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So you're going through the task list instead of actually yes, we have a task list, but maybe we don't have to go through the task list. We need to focus on being in the
Exactly,
now.
yeah.
You're not in the now if you're
Yeah.
thinking about the task that you need to do in the future.
Yeah, or I'm already pissed off because I did this and this and this, and you didn't do what I expected from you.
Yeah, but it's not a
Yeah.
competition. It's not a competition between the two, right? It's about finding the right balance.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is a one way to look at it. That, but if you either dwell on the past or you worry about the future, you're not in the now.
No.
Because I mean, like in those two examples, you're either I've been doing all these things, you haven't done anything. I have to do all these things in the future. You worry about the future, or you dwell on things from the past that didn't happen the way you wanted to. That means that you're not here right now.
No. Yesterday when I researched a little bit like what has actually been published when it comes to sex in Swedish magazines last years, I stumbled upon an article. Now I don't remember what it was, but it was like a couple saying that if we've had an argument, it's even more important for us to have sex, to get close together again, to come back to each other, to find the love again and step out of it.
I mean, I think it's a good point, and I think some of the key advices I tried to live with in my past was really around this: you should never go to bed angry.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think sometimes you have to pause on that, because if you go on an entire night when two people are very, very tired, you will start saying things that actually are very hurtful to each other. Instead of actually, okay, let's just pause and have the guts to say, let's take a moment and pause, come back to this with a fresh mind tomorrow. Even if it means not sleeping in the same room. But I think after that, that's when you definitely need to connect back and find that moment, right? Because I think I also saw something, and I actually wanted to hear what the couple you mentioned that had sex for 1,000 days.
Yeah.
I think when you do have intimacy and sex regularly, I think one of the key benefits is you will feel more relaxed with your partner. You will feel more synced with the partner. You will feel that you can communicate better with your partner if you do that more on a regular basis. I think in a lot of cases, particularly women use sex as a action driver for the man to achieve things on that list that they don't do, right? And then it becomes more, and then it becomes more a power play between the two, right? In that sense. So
yeah, I mean, saying that you're in a way saying that women would have sex not for themselves, but or for the man, or for the man to achieve something that they want.
Exactly. So it then really becomes a feeling that the man is not good enough, not performing enough, and then it just fuels that actual need they're grown up with or have inherited already since before.
What do you mean? I don't understand now.
No, that men are taught very early to perform and deliver something. And women are using then sex as a way to make them perform even more.
Okay.
Which makes a man feel not good enough or not feeling enough in his own right.
Yeah. But a lot of times women would also just have sex for themselves, right?
Of course. Yeah, but I think if they have sex for themselves, but they don't have it with their partner, or they have it, obviously that's the best place. I think today, and I do believe today that women are much more in tune with themselves and know themselves better. So I do feel that's definitely something that is much more natural today.
One thing I think like that has been talked about last 10 years maybe, is and that I think also women have learned more about themselves, is actually like how the hormones are fluctuating through the month, and that actually also, has to be taken, taken into account.
Yeah.
Because a man would maybe be ready every day, and women, we don't work like that,
Yeah.
if I'm ovulating, then I'm like, where are you?
Exactly. And when you're not, you're okay. It's a different
a
thing.
few days later, it would be like, no, I want to break up with you, and what am I doing here? And I have to move, and nobody likes me, And that's also, I think more and more women understand that nowadays, and they know how they work.
Yeah.
And it also depends on like, are you on contraceptive or not, and how does that affect you? Is also, of course, has a part in it. But if you know yourself how you work, then you can communicate that to your partner.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they also deserve to know, this time of the month, I'm not here for you. And now my ovulation is coming up Tuesday, Wednesday. So, we need to have sex,
Now we can have sex in a good way. No.
Yeah.
But it's more,
Or like this, if you don't have sex with me, now I'm going to be super angry, and I'm going to be disappointed in a few days. You are going to be disappointed in a few days when I don't feel like it anymore and we missed it because you fell asleep or something,
Yeah, but I mean, this, to your point here, though, I think a lot of people now, and I'm generalizing now again, but I think a lot of people are going into these type of relationships with the idea that, hey, I assume that you understand and understand me.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
people, I think a lot of people assume things, and that means that their mind is, oh, she doesn't want to, or he doesn't want to, or he doesn't see me, when actually the key thing that it starts with is good communication. Well, way, right? So if you feel like both emotional and physical safety, you add communication on top of that, I think you can actually start saying, to your point, because what you were talking now here is more clarity, right? If you think about having clarity in your communication with your partner, why do you think he would assume that he understands where you are? Yes, I think all men know that there's a week in the month that is.
I know, but it's often talked like that, right? Oh, it's this week of the month. Now
Yeah,
you're
exactly. Yeah,
annoyed and
exactly.
angry,
Yeah.
but it's
Instead of
not
actually,
talked about. This is where you will feel super horny and,
no, of course. And that's a positive thing for a guy. That actually is a very positive thing to talk to their partner about it. Oh, wow. You're okay. Now you're feeling like that. Oh, so you can actually have that communication. But I think that's where the communication needs to, if people dare to open up about it, I think they will come a long, long way.
That also requires then that the woman herself understands or knows her cycle a little bit, which
Of course.
like not all women do, or not
But
all women
there are
are
ways now you
the
can
same.
find that out, I think, right? I mean, I'm not a woman,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
definitely know that there are ways you can figure out that cycle, and then you can talk about that, right? And it's nothing shameful to talk about it if you're in a long-term relationship.
No.
So,
And I think like for both men and women who are dealing with a woman on hormones going up and down, it's helpful to also understand that this is just hormones, this is
yeah,
biology, or it's not that you don't want to have sex anymore, but it's like your hormones are on the lowest point now,
yeah. And then obviously it's very hard to be on the great mood and be caring.
Yeah. But also knowing for everybody included that this is gonna be for a few days like this, and then it's changing.
Yeah, it's not forever. And I think, but that's also, I think, where a man can act better is then to actually be much more calm and present and holding the woman in that sense, give her space, not put into my high demands, right? I think that's another example of what a man can do. You just be more attentive to the woman in that sense, right? In a calm way, and show that he's there and he stays.
Yeah. Shall I share how that would like look to me? Like, just because I like concrete stuff,
Let's do that.
So if you're living with a woman, it's really helpful to know her cycle, if she has some kind of cycle. Contraceptive might change how it works. But on day one, meaning when the period starts, day one, day two, that's sort of when a lot of women just want to go hide, I want to stay in bed myself, and then it's really, at least to me, then you want somebody who's just holding you, who's just there, you know. You might have pains or feel tired, bloated, you know. You just want to have support, somebody there who can let you rest and stay, not asking so much of you, you know. And then as the period continues and you're working towards ovulation, day 14, you know, then the woman is going to come back to her normal self a little bit. Normal. Which part is normal? Not sure. But the woman is going to feel maybe more normal. And then is when she's going to be more interested in you again. She's going to feel like light. Yeah, okay, I'm ready for life. Outgoing, you know. More interested in sex until ovulation. And when ovulation has happened, it's going to drop. And then it can almost be like a little depressive state, you know. Some say that it's like the body is a little bit grieving that it didn't make a baby this time, you know. And everything goes down.
Yeah.
And then, it's going to stay, I don't know, more or less low or like this.
Neutral.
Until, you know, next period starts. And if you know these things, both as a woman and a man, like, how can I support you here? What do you need here? When are you interested in me? You know, if you know, I think it can be helpful. But maybe people know this. I don't know.
No, I think it's a great way to talk about it. I think in every relationship, it's worthwhile discussing these things, right? Because it helps, and particularly instead of then going into now she's in that mood again, and then you shut down as a man instead of being there. Because I think a lot of guys will shut down when a woman is in that moody thing.
Yeah, or stay out of the way, or, you know.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily what the woman really needs to feel emotionally supported in that, right?
No, yeah.
To your point that you need somebody who can come and hug you and just hold you for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And do something for you, or say, like, take some time for yourself, or what do you need now, or can I do something for you?
Exactly. No, that's a very nice way to look at it. Thank you for sharing. So let me give you, we talked a bit about before here about like examples of, you know, a decade ago, things that were hard to talk about. Like you mentioned here about the female orgasm, that people might feel like it's, do we really want to give them more pressure, if you will, right? Do you feel like, are there any other things that has changed throughout the last decade, if you will?
I think like tantric sex or relationships has definitely been more written about, at least in Swedish magazines. I think also like there's this tantric festival in Ängsbacka in Värmland in Sweden, which has been maybe a bit controversial, but there has been written a lot about this, like every year pretty much. Like they must have got so much what do you say, material
or information.
or like not PR maybe, but
attention
about this festival. I don't know if it's the biggest in Europe or if they were just aiming to become the biggest in Europe, but I think previously maybe when media was writing about tantric lifestyles or tantric sex, it was more a little bit in a weird way, like this couple are doing this, or they, you know, a little bit like in a weird way. And I think that nowadays, or last years, it's written more in a more balanced way. And I think also a lot of things, or a lot of topics. Wait, let me see what other topics I was thinking about. Yeah, but for example, swingers or tantric sex, it's not anymore
like a taboo topic, or
or like this couple, you know, framed in a way that makes them look like really weirdos, you know. It's more like this way of life gave us this to our relationship, or our relationship grew stronger, or we had better sex when we started with this, or we are super happy living 2 men and 1 woman, or a lot of these topics are told from people's views, what you would call a case, somebody telling this is how we live our life.
It's more. I think it's more normalized, maybe, to talk about it.
Yeah. And I think swingers has that's pretty new. I think that's coming more and more in media.
Yeah.
That's also okay, that it's not just like you crazy sex. What do you say? Sex addict or a sex lunatic.
Yeah.
That it's actually like, this is how we want to live our life. But that requires also that there are people like this couple I interviewed previously who are actually willing to say that we are normal people and this is what we like. Everything is good, no problem. We are not crazy. We are just enjoying life.
And we want to live life and explore life and be curious about life, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Then that's how they choose to do it, which is beautiful for them. So, with all the interviews you've had, do you see any good relationship lessons or pointers that you've learned throughout all the conversations you've had?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both from couples I've interviewed, but also from like talking to sexologists or relationships therapists about really like, what can you do? What are the tools? I think one thing I already mentioned that I hadn't thought about is this thing that the foreplay is like an ongoing thing, or it starts earlier than the bedroom,
That's a very powerful one, I would say.
Yeah. And I don't know if I have to explain that more. We didn't know what I mean with that one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just being much more, it starts with the small gestures even before the bedroom, and then how you see each other in a day-to-day life, particularly in a long-term relationship, right?
Yeah. And then one thing I like is the sexologist Susanne Larsdotter told me that you have, like, if you can look at your sex, maybe not your sex drive, but your interest in sex as like it has a gas and a brake. So like maybe most people would know, like, yeah, for me to get started or get interested, I want you to kiss me, I want you to do like this, I want you to do this on me, blah blah blah, and I love when you do this, but it's also helpful to think, what are the breaks, if I feel stressed to do something, I cannot relax, or if I'm worried that the kids are gonna come home, I can also not relax and be in the moment. That's gonna break me,
Yeah, you worry about something.
Yeah, and what's gonna take my interest away, or if I have the whole day been cleaning the house, and then, or I just empty the dishwasher, and then you anyway put the cup on the kitchen top instead of in the dishwasher, like these small things, this is gonna break me. So can also be useful to think about, like, what's the gas factors?
And the break.
Yeah.
That's a very nice tip, I would say.
And maybe, like, I remember I spoke to someone who felt like, oh, I'm not interested in sex at all at the moment. And then I told her this thing, like, have you thought about, like, maybe it's not lack of interest or, physical ability, but it's like there are too many breaks at the moment. It cannot come out, There's too much breaking me. What else? Well, explain needs, or express your needs,
Yeah.
Then you have to know your needs, of course, which is like.
And I think, and that you can only express your needs, I think, when you do feel safe in the relationship, emotionally and physically safe, right? When you do that, it's easier to open up and communicate your needs.
Yeah. And like maybe in a way that, for me, it's important that I can do this because it makes me feel happy, it gives me energy, gets me, makes me come back as a mother or wife, partner with more energy, and I'm more, able to handle everything else. But also for women, maybe especially, or mothers, to maybe also, I was thinking this for myself also, that maybe you have to add, this is important for me, and I need to be able to do it without feeling guilty or without feeling that everything is falling apart because I'm not here, or without coming back again and feel, just without feeling guilty. And maybe that has to be expressed sometimes,
Yeah, we talk about it, I guess. But I think, do you also feel like, I think there is still a performative nature, though, with both men and women around either not feeling guilty. That's almost like, if I do this, I might feel guilty. And for men can also feel those things, right? That they can feel guilty about having desire or not. Actually, I think a lot of guys also don't even communicate that they feel something or desire something, right? And just because you express a desire doesn't always mean you have to live out a desire either. It's just a way of, hey, this is a strong feeling I have, that I do have that desire. And it's a fantasy sometimes even, right? And maybe you want to share that, but it doesn't mean you have to live out the fantasy or that desire, if you will.
Exactly. I think it was actually this couple who had 6,000 days in a row. You can read that article if anyone is interested in Swedish for Amelia. I think they said, some days we are just laying in bed whispering sex fantasies to each other. And it's not like, this is something we should do. Let's go look for, I don't know, a group to have sex with, but it's just a little thing.
That's a nice thing to share. And then you share ideas and thoughts. Doesn't mean you have to act out on them, right?
No, but that also requires then that you feel safe, right? That
of course
I can tell you this. I have a fantasy about having sex with somebody else, or you are with somebody else. That the person can also, take it.
Yeah, or hey, I envision seeing you having sex with someone else, or having sex. Yeah, it becomes very. Doesn't need to be something you act out on, but it still is a feeling or desire you might have. So, I can see that for sure.
I think I have 2 more points when it comes to my best learnings. So one would be like, take responsibility for who you want to be as a partner in a relationship. Definitely have to work on that myself also. These are the kind of things, you have to remind yourself, you have to come back. Oh yeah, I forgot about this, So like, starting with myself in this relationship, how can I be the kind of partner I want? Or maybe I would like my partner to be more like this. Can I behave more like this towards him or her, starting with myself. And then there's one last thing that therapists often say, I think. I don't know if you have ever been to couples therapy previous to breakups or divorce, but one thing therapists often say is, like, most people come too late to therapy, right? Couples therapy. And if you see it as a clock or like an hour, you come when it's already 5 to 12. And at 12, it's like
game over.
Game over. Or you come 5 past 12,
Yeah. The train already left the station.
Yeah. It's like too late to.
Yeah, that is something I can relate to, and I think it starts a lot with your accountability, the responsibility you have for yourself. I think in one way, I've talked about this before. I almost feel like you need a driver license to start a relationship.
Yeah.
That means that you need to be aware about yourself, and you need to be accountable for yourself somehow when you go into the relationship. But it's only in a long-term relationship, I feel like, where you really test yourself and you know that you've come some way with yourself. Because it's only there you get mirrored or triggered enough is in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you can choose to live yourself, and then you're not going to be exposed to other people, and you don't have to worry about getting triggered, if you will.
Much
But then
easier at times, but
yeah, but then you don't get the benefits actually of feeling connected with someone else and feeling that love that you can achieve when you're in a long-term relationship, I guess. But that driver license, I think, would help some people in a relationship.
yeah.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much for your voice and your experience and all the
Thank you.
reflection. I really appreciated your time.
Thank you. It was fun.
At its core, this conversation hasn't really been about sex. It's been about language, responsibility, presence, and the courage to meet each other without masks. To you listening, thank you for being here. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who might need it. Send me a message and tell me what landed. Growth begins the moment we put words to what we feel. Until the next time, this is 34O, the space where we practice meeting each other as whole human beings. Stay open, stay present, and stay human.